All right. I'm live on the YouTube. As Dave Rubin likes to say, on the YouTube. Anyways, like I say, I'm just going to get everything squared away while I'm waiting for peeps to show up to the stream. Hopefully some of you are getting your notifications today. Lots to cover. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, let me go to Twitter because there's something we're going to be covering. Oh, yeah, let's make sure. Yeah, okay, we're good. Something we're going to be covering on Twitter that I shared actually on a few of my pages, but the video portion was embedded in Twitter. Yes, there we go. There we go. Do 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 do. What's that? What is this? Okay. All right, that's set up. That's looking good. Oh, I see there's somebody already in here in the stream. Let me check it out. What do we got here? Bernard. Right, that's set up. Oh, that's looking good. Oh, I see. Put that baby on mute. Actually, I might as well close right out of that right now. I see that it has at least shown up. Anyways, what's going on, Bernard Hutchinson? Hey, Bennett, what up? Did you see Planet of the Green Renewable People Are Idiots? And Jagmeet Head and Lizzie May lost their shit. Yeah, Moore's movie. Yeah, I did watch that. Very interesting, right? Hey, what's going on, Derek? Yeah, I did actually watch that, and it was very interesting. It's quite wild considering it's Michael Moore's, which is, obviously a guy that would normally you would think he would be, because he identifies as left and on the left side of the political spectrum. You would think that he wouldn't want to be involved in a production like this. But I mean, hey, listen, yeah, it just goes to show actually it's better, right? Because if it came from a right-wing outlet or something, then people could just basically use the old, well, we can discredit it just by the sheer fact it's our political opponents. But the fact that Michael Moore, put his name on it and was a part of this production, it tells you, like, come on. I mean, the cat's out of the bag at this point in time. You can't say it's politicized. Michael Moore would tend to be the kind of person that would want to defend the ideologues on the left, right? So obviously, it wasn't that he had ill intentions, but I suppose what it is, a lot of people, and even people like him, maybe, but they're sick and tired of being manipulated, right, and controlled by these leftists, these sociopaths on the left that only thing they seem to be really competent at is manipulating people on a continuing, ongoing basis. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching it because it just goes to show a lot of this environmentalism. It's absolute bullshit. And as it was pointed out on that movie or that documentary, is all these renewables, they used a tremendous amount of these oil and gas resources, right? Just to build these things, right? So yeah, it is a farce. And like I say, it was great to see that he actually did produce that documentary, because it's something that you can now turn around and show or shove in the face of these leftist environmentalists, right? Say, well, what do you got to say about this? And chances are the only thing you'll hear back from them is repeating some political talking point from someone in the media. But hey, at the very least, that's when you know you've won, right? When all they got left to return, facts is, I want to close my eyes and plug my ears and pretend they don't see or hear it. Well, like I say, you've won the information war at that point in time. What's going on, Hollandaise? Guten Morgen. Good morning to you. Right on. Nice to see you in the stream. Oh, by the way, everyone, hit the like button, please, if you wouldn't mind. Really appreciate that. And subscribe if you haven't already. Insanity at its finest. Insanity rules the day. It rules the day. What's going on, Niles? Or Nish Noob? Hillary backs the Remus. Yeah, I guess that was Hillary endorsing Biden, right? Well, they're all circling their wagons. They want to bring back the old establishment, right? They really do. It's like, no one's given them the memo yet that the world has moved on, but they're still so desperate to cling to that last bit of power in Hillary, like to remain relevant in some way, right? Like, come on, just go home and retire. You folks got lots of money. Go. You won't be missed, right? Hey, what's going on, Missy? Hey, buddy. Hope you're having a great day so far. Been sending people here. Thank you. Yes, I really appreciate that too. More comment. Oh my God, saw his BS this morning. Oh, lots of BS going on this morning. Oh, not just this morning, but I get what you're saying. More of the biggest lefty in there, burning, destroying, forced to save the forest. Big bucks. It's just crazy, right? Michael was talking in code, no doubt. Yeah. Okay, see, looks like we got a new one. Is that someone that Missy brought to the stream? If so, thank you for joining the stream, Barbara or Barb Harwood Gendron. I appreciate that. Morning to you. Let's see, Bernard, not sure of 100%, but Jug me want Trudeau to make it a crime to watch the movie. And no doubt, right? That's the thing, and that's if you see by the name of this one is the pandemic of propaganda, polls, and political edict, right? That's the biggest pandemic, and it's rampant and widespread, right? Anyways, like I say, before I get into it, let me just, as you can see, so I can pull this announcement back off here, is I do have an announcement, and this will be great. And this person, I guess, kind of perceives of himself as an expert of sorts. Well, he said in his reply to the message that I'll be the expert that you're looking for. Anyways, it was someone that was contributed to my ThinkSpot post in regards to, I'm obviously against any mandatory or forced wealth and income redistribution, no matter what phrase you want to coin it, right? Socialism, communism. I mean, there's all kinds of ways. CERB, right? Or the basic income or the guaranteed mincome, as what was they called it back in the day. I mean, they keep these socialists, they keep trying to reinvent all these terms and hoping that, most people won't realize exactly what it is. It's the same snake oil. It's just they put a different label on it, right? But no, it's still socialism. It's still forced and wealth and income redistribution. And basically, this Don from ThinkSpot, he's a ThinkSpot contributor, and his username over there is We Create the Future. He's a fan. He said he's a big fan and an advocate of something along the lines of a basic income or CERB. So this will be, as far as I'm concerned, should prove to be, at the very least, an interesting conversation. We're going to be doing that live on Saturday, May 2nd at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So, I'm going to be respectful for sure, but it will be really interesting to hear someone try to advocate for forced wealth or income redistribution and try to make that out as he's on the side of what? Morality? I love when people do that because it's so easy to just point out all the little holes, right? It's like being like Swiss cheese when they're advocating for anything in terms of right? As it's real, actually, you don't even have to poke the holes when you think about Swiss cheese. They're already there. You can look right through them. It's not only transparent, they're actually see-through entirely. You can see right through it, right? And that's what I'm going to be bringing to the conversation, obviously, is the fact that, I don't know how you're going to play that one. I mean, if you want to make a utilitarian argument, I've heard lots of people suggest that they can make a utilitarian argument. I can make a utilitarian argument for being a thief too. If I steal from other people, it's going to greatly enrich me. That is a utilitarian argument, right? But then I have to leave it the fact that I had to steal from people to enrich myself, which kind of destroys the moral or ethical standpoint. Because that's the thing, most people pretty sure that Don's not going to come on here and say, yeah, he's an evil, vile person that advocates, right? So this is how you show. It's a litmus test to see, are you really on the side of morality or ethics, right? We'll find out. Anyways, like I say, so we'll move on past that. But yeah, we definitely got lots to cover today. So why don't I just get right into it? Well, let's see. There might be a few more peeps in here. And it looks like it's basically the same folks. But like I say, let's get into this. Actually, should I do this Twitter one first? Seems how we are talking about propaganda. Yeah, let's do it. And that way I'll get this done over with and hopefully remember to turn my mic back here. Actually, I can full screen that as well. So let's do it this way. I'm going to share the screen so you folks can hear it. Put it on the Twitter. All right, let me just double check and make sure you folks can see it. Yep, you sure can. All right, so some of you have probably already heard this, and this comes from a documentary film from the Canadian Film Board, right? With this Canada's top doctor. And this was back, I believe, in 2010 was when this documentary. And when I seen this, like, I always check. I always verify. I don't just trust people willy-nilly. So I actually did check, and I went, and yeah, it's right on Canada's, the gc.ca, Canada's official government website. And yeah, we're this thing. So I, like I said, I had to double check and make sure, is this legit, right? Because, you do have such things that they're like deep fakes and stuff, but I just wanted to confirm for myself so that I'm not spreading any false information or misinformation. But yeah, no, this is legit. This is legit. Now, I shared to my social media pages. If you want to check through them, I shared a link. This Twitter, I shared this tweet, mind you, and the link to that on my social media pages. But I also went and found the entire video, that documentary, that the clips are coming from. So, and I shared them to my social media page as well. So if you want to check them out, or if I remember when I finish this up, I'll remember to actually put a link to that in the description of this as well. But like I say, you'll find it on any of my social media pages. And I'm still I haven't watched it in its entirety, but you better believe I will be. Anyways, let's get to it here and hear what is said just in this, what is it, a minute and 21 second clip.
The public has to know this is one of the worst case scenarios in terms of an infectious disease outbreak, in that their cooperation is sought. If there are people who are non-compliant, there are definitely laws and public health powers that can quarantine people in mandatory settings. It's potential you could track people, put bracelets on their arms, have police and other setups to ensure quarantine is undertaken. It is better to be preemptive and
what the
precautionary and take the heat of people thinking you might be overreactionary, get ahead of the curve, and then think about whether you've overreacted later. But it's such a serious situation that I think decisive early action is the key.
So, as you heard there, right? Oh yeah. It seems like Dr. Tim has a serious authoritarian streak in her, right? I mean, come on. Hey, yeah, you might have to track them. You might have to, lock them down. Think about what this woman was saying. And then after the fact, overreact now. And don't worry about overreact. Don't matter about the fallout or the consequences of that overreaction. No, you worry about that after the fact. After you've basically walked off the edge of the cliff, what she's saying is, no, don't worry about that then. It's too what? Yeah, I guess I would agree with her. It's a little too late to worry about it. Once you walked off that last step off the cliff and you're now on your way down, I guess not much you can do about it at that point in time, right? But yeah, maybe you shouldn't have walked off the cliff in the first place. That would be my opinion on that thing. But Theresa Tam, that authoritarian streak obviously overwhelms the whole brain capacity to think critically, right? But wow, folks, wow, right? This, and I'm telling you, the evidence and stuff that's coming out these days, ooh, I'm loving it. I'm freaking loving it as of late. I don't know about you folks. Of course, it's bad what's happening, what's taking place out there. And there's some there's some dark clouds on the horizon, no doubt. But like I say, the information war, the info war, yeah. I mean, they're doubling down, and look, they pulled out the big guns, but they're still losing. Why? Because they lack objectivity, and the most important thing of all, truth, right? Their lies, like I say, it's like Swiss cheese. Like you can see through the facade. It's a complete farce. And they like, even as much as they keep the doubling down, they remind me of that meme where it's like you're like 10 foot down and you're in a hole and you just keep digging. That's all they know how to do, and they're just digging and digging. It's like, well, okay, shh, don't tell them to stop, because the further they're digging, the further they're getting away from us. That's better, right? All the better, right? Or the further they get away from the truth is that more people will turn and pivot towards us who are telling the truth. So Yeah, keep doubling down on that insanity there, media propagandists. You're doing, like I say, they're doing a better job proving how ridiculous they are than I could ever do. Anyways, I'm going to check in the chat before I really delve into things here, folks. Make sure I'm not missing out on any new peeps. Biden falls asleep. Yeah. Yeah, making a crime to watch movies like the Nazis saying, if you don't read our newspapers, we will put you in. Yeah. Next step to socialism is guaranteed income. Sure, some are not welfared enough. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Too many. There's still enough independent people in this country. Can't allow that, right? They're losing their shit and narrative with their pandemic at warp speed. Yeah. It is, right? Of course, universal income never. Well, I mean, it's theft on a rampant scale, and if you try to universalize socialism, right? If you could ever reach that utopia where everybody's living at the expense of everyone else, well, who the hell's paying for it, right? That's why socialism can't work, right? Because 2 + 2 can never equal 5. That's why. And I don't want to hear some idiot that said in some weird fucking, where was this thing somewhere that someone was arguing before in what? Some ridiculous thing. Oh no, you can make 2 + 2 = 5. Okay, well, you live in that fucked up world. I'm going to live in the regular world where it's 2 + 2 = 4, and actually everything functions much better that way, right? But yeah, of course it can't work, right? Even under the utilitarian argument, you can't make it stick because somebody's got to be the ones that's paying for it all, right? The minute everyone turns towards socialism, well, that's when it collapses because we can't all live off of everyone else. Right? You can't do it. Somebody's got to be providing the wealth, which is why most countries throughout the 20th century, especially after the rise of fascism, Nazism, and communism, and all the socialist iterations, is they realize, oh shit, no. Actually, we need the capitalism as the underlying aspect that creates wealth. That way, we can create the third way. This third system, this mixed system, because capitalism produces the wealth and then we can steal it and redistribute it. So they're like, even the intelligent, the wise socialists or authoritarian collectivists realize, no, you can't get rid of capitalism entirely because then, like I say, the whole house of cards collapses immediately thereafter. So the ones that are pushing for these kind of socialist programs don't even realize that no, there's still going to be a percentage of people that are going to have to be the ones shouldering that burden. But now it'll be an even smaller portion, and that's when Atlas will truly shrug. Well, Atlas, as you can see, he's already shrugging in some aspect, in some regards. Yeah, that's a quote from Ayn Rand's novel. Actually, it's the title of Ayn Rand's novel, Atlas Shrugged, which, yeah, it's a big, long book, but well worth it. Anyways, Biden will soon be Bernie and we can exactly just propping them up, hugging the babies and trying to grab all the ladies, right? I guess he'll have to have people on either side controlling his arms. Although even if he was passed out or passed away, he might still have that natural tendencies, right? Those automatic twitches. So used to doing it, right? Oldie but a goodie. Oh, I'm not sure. I must have mentioned something else. Hey, what's going on, Jake? What's going on, Jake? Jake Fillmore, good morning. Yeah, actually, but now that we're talking about movies here, let me move along. Yeah, why not? See, I'm going to be a little bit all over the place here, but since that's being brought up, let me, and then I'll close it up so that I was given this information this morning by a contributor to that actually just sends a message to, was it my Canadian Libertarian page? Actually, let me go find that just so I can, because I hadn't quite seen it yet. I had heard about it, but I haven't got around to seeing it yet. But I'm just going to check because I like to give a shout out to this. I think it was a gentleman. My internet wasn't so crappy. This stuff would happen in a much shorter time frame, but it is what it is. All right, like I say, pretty wild. And fortunately, I have the ability now to check and see because, well, I won't give away all my secrets, but anyways, but I did confirm. Okay, which one was it? There we go. Oh, yeah, Charles Meyer. Charles. Actually, maybe I'm not sure. I actually might not even. Maybe I shouldn't even mention because maybe didn't want me to mention. But anyways, it was someone that contributed to my, like I say, my Facebook page and shared this with me and let me know that, by the way, you can't watch this in Canada or France for some reason. And Canada's made up a population of English or French, right? And a lot of French people do watch not just French language from Quebec, but because it's limited in terms of how many outlets there are, I'm sure they may very well watch French television or news from Quebec, from France as well. So could that be the reason? Well, inquiring minds would like to know, but sounds reasonable as a plausible explanation to me as to why the video contained within this article or on their YouTube channel. And like I say, I did go and double check and confirm for myself that nope, you can't watch this unless you have a VPN or a way to watch it from a different country. Because if you're in Canada, you can't watch this for some damn reason. Anyways, I'm sharing it now. Put the old screen share on it. So it was a Vice News article with a headline, Snowden warns governments are using coronavirus to build the architecture of oppression. Let me say that again. Just in case, I'm just thinking if I need to clip this at some point down in the future and use it as a standalone video, I'm editing as on the fly. Or should I say, take two? Snowden warns governments are using coronavirus to build the architecture of oppression. Vice co-founder Shane Smith interviews famed whistleblower Edward Snowden in Shelter in Place, a new series on Vice TV. This was reported on by Trone Dowd, April 13th, 2020. And I think the main thing, let me just do a little speculating here in terms of another reason why is because Edward Snowden and Vice News are very much considered left. Well, especially Vice News would be considered a left-leaning publication or news outlet. And Edward Snowden never identified as like conservative or right-wing or anything. And a lot of lefties after the Snowden revelation, because a lot of the reports from Edward Snowden come from left-leaning outlets and sources such as The Guardian, because Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras. No, Laura Poitras was the one that did the documentary, but Glenn Greenwald was at the time a reporter for The Guardian, and Glenn Greenwald himself, the one that made contact with Edward Snowden and helped break these revelations in terms of government spying, would all be people that would identify as being on the left side of the political spectrum. Now, it's easy, like I said in just a few minutes ago, if it's a right-wing outlet, well, it's much easier for the establishment media to discredit them in some way for most of their audience by just pointing out the fact that, oh, yeah, you can't trust, Fox News or Rebel Media, right? But when the source, just like the Michael Moore documentary, when the source comes from a left-leaning, publication or news outlet, then it's a little hard for the other leftists, media outlets in, let's say in Canada, to say that, oh no, you just can't trust them. Well, that's the thing. Could you imagine CBC or one of these leftist outlets saying, oh no, you just can't trust Vice News or Edward Snowden, right? It wouldn't work, because even lefties would be like, wait a minute, hold her now. Wasn't too long ago, we were all agreeing that we're all on the same side here, right? Right? We're all together in this, right? But once again, this, I believe, is the main reason why this video is not allowed in Canada, because it actually has built-in credibility for leftists because it's coming from leftists or left-leaning outlets. Anyway, so let's just read just a little bit here. The future may be unpredictable, but global pandemics aren't. There isn't a single government on the planet that hasn't warned repeatedly that at some point a viral pandemic will sweep the globe, causing untold death and economic disruption. And yet most failed to prepare for the novel coronavirus. Every academic, every researcher who's looked at this knew this was coming, says famed whistleblower Edward Snowden in an exclusive interview with Vice co-founder Shane Smith. Yet when we needed it, the system has now failed us and has failed us comprehensively. Snowden is the first guest in the new Shelter in Place series airing on Vice TV on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, which looks at the global response to COVID-19 and its lasting impact around the world. Smith discussed Smith discussed these themes as well as how to survive quarantine with a host of thinkers from science, entertainment, economics, and journalism. Anyways, so like I say, let me just double check something here real quick. Yeah, so like I say, if you want to click on these articles, well, if you're in Canada, and I'll share that as well. Actually, I've already done that to my social media page. So if you're in Canada, as you see, if you click on this article, you won't be able to watch the video. But I did share, because someone else has already mirrored this video and hosted it on their own YouTube channel, and I shared a link to that as well. So you can watch this video, which I did. And yeah, it's a good video, and Edward Snowden definitely pointing out the fact that, yeah, like governments and what they've been doing. That's the thing. People seem to forget all the nefarious shit and corruption and invasive spying and surveillance that's already taken place, and it has been for a long time now, as Edward Snowden has rightfully pointed out. I mean, if you go all the way back to the Patriot Act after the 9/11, right, 2001, basically since then, and it's only ramped up since. And we've already heard, James Clapper with his collect it all statement, right? Basically collect everything that you do electronically or online is being captured, recorded, and stored in some kind of a facility or servers around the world, more likely in the United States, or not necessarily, I guess, depending if they want to skirt some of those privacy laws, right? But anyway, so check this out. Like I say, not only can you find the article and check for yourself and double check and verify for yourself that, yeah, you can't watch this video if you're in Canada unless you have a VPN, right? That puts you in a different jurisdiction. But yeah, why, right? Que bono. Who would benefit from preventing this kind of information from coming to light? Yeah, the political propagandists that don't want to hear any kind of truth or pushback against their that like I say, that narrative that they want to put forth, that propaganda. So let me close this one out as well. But yeah, I would definitely, like I said, I would definitely recommend going and checking that particular video out. There's lots of stuff coming out, like I say, to watch. And another thing I want to mention too before I get too further in, and hopefully I don't have any issues with it, but that video that I also had, actually, let me open this up. I'll share that as well with you folks. As you folks, the rest of you probably know as well, is the Dr. Erickson and that other doctor, the two that own those, actually they own 7 facilities down in California, these healthcare facilities that have basically been whistleblowing, or not necessarily so much whistleblowing, but at the very least pushing back quite strongly, I will add, on this dominant narrative that we have to have an entire shutdown, like large segments of the economy and these kind of lockdowns, and basically pointing out that nope. And that video was actually done. I actually, on my laptop, I made the mistake of actually closing it and then try to go back to it afterwards, which is like, oh, what the hell? They deleted it. Now you can only find a 2-minute segment of it on their actual website. But yeah, of course. Yep. Yes, not just me, but others have made sure that you do have access to that video in its entirety. So as I'll point out now, you can find it on my Next Gen News and Views page on Facebook. If you just scroll down, just one sec here. Actually, let me share it. I'll show you what it looks like here. I basically had to do it for me. I had to do it as an embed. I had to embed it into my actual page. Okay, let's check this out. So there's my Next Gen News and Views. Okay, so let me just scroll down. Oh, by the way, so here's now that I'm here, so I might as well just show you it all. So this is see, the embedded video is blocked in Canada. So this is the article that that Vice article that I was just referencing. Let me make sure you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. So this is the article that I was just reading. This is the link to that alternative source for the video. So it'll come up as soon as you start scrolling down on my Next Gen News and Views page, and you'll see that, and then you can click on that and watch, like I say, that it's 20-some minute video in its entirety. Yeah, and this was just the original article. Oh yeah, we got to get to this Epoch Times, CBC News, unbelievable. Don't worry, we're going to get to that eventually too. I'm just trying to find for you. Oh yeah, and this is that part with that. If you want to watch that entire outbreak, that's another thing. So if you go to Next Gen News and Views, you'll be able to see that entire outbreak that from the National Film Board. That if you watch that in entirety, you can do that here as well. So once again, you can get that link all on my Next Gen News and Views. And as I said, right from the National Film Board of Canada, as you can see, I put the link in there just to confirm. Like I say, I'm always about checking and confirming, right? Making sure I'm giving people proper information. Being truthful, honest, and forthright is why even the social media or these establishment media hacks, they're not going to be able to they're going to work really hard if they're going to try to silence or suppress me. Well, I mean, suppress me, yes. Silence me, no, because I like I say, I make sure I dot my I's and cross my T's. Anyway, so here it is, folks. So as you can see, I've embedded it. It's 51 minutes and 50 some seconds long. It's completely embedded. It's that Dr. Erickson COVID-19 briefing that a lot of you were talking about and that did get taken down. And to prove that it did get taken down, well, I haven't, like I said, I haven't reloaded. Anyways, let me just pause that now. And I can close out of my, that page. One sec here. But just to show you, I have yet to do it. So this is happening in real time because like I say, I haven't reloaded it, but you'll know that this is the original source for this video. And it was an actual establishment media site, ABC News, Channel 23, which obviously must be a California branch of ABC, right? Because that's where these doctors are from. But anyways, let me just double check. So, okay, so yeah, there you go. So you can see this is it's a YouTube video. It's Dr. Erickson, as you can see, COVID-19 briefing. Had 5,310,000 views at the time, and that was as of April 22nd. So that's 7 days ago that this video was. Well, that's when it was uploaded, but at that time it had 5 million views. And as you can see, it came from 23 ABC News, KERO, right? So this is ABC News, their actual channel. So it's not like someone's blog. And if you look up there, even up in the corner, they even have the logo of their media outlet embedded right into the video. So like I say, from, what should be considered a trusted news source, right? It's not someone's blog. And if you see, well, let me go up and just, I'm going to test this right here and right now, unless they have re-uploaded it, but I'm going to take the guess that they have not because it was gone. Yeah, there you go. So you see it in real time, right? You just watch now. Now, I didn't want to have to do that because now I don't have access to it. But fortunately, like I say, there are other ways to make sure there's backups, right? And yeah, I understand how to make sure that there are alternative sources to get this kind of information. And as I've shared, as I've shown already, that I've already got it embedded in my own Facebook page, and hopefully I don't have any issues with that. But yeah, you see that? Gone, just like that. Wonder why that could possibly be, right? These guys were offering some very, very important information and showing that, yeah, basically death rates, right? And if you watch it, millions of, potential cases, tiny amount of deaths, right? Millions of potential cases, tiny. Every country around the world, all the facts, all the statistics, all the numbers from he used California, he used from his own facilities, he used from Sweden, he used examples from he used examples from lots of countries around the world and showed that actually, the death rate is basically on par or roughly in line with the typical seasonal flu. So why? And he and his the other doctor that was a part of that video was saying the same thing. Why this lockdown, right? When we're basically seeing roughly around the same death rates as you would for the seasonal flu. You don't lock everything down and try to attempt to destroy the entire economy of the Western world or the entire world based on these kind of numbers, right? So very, very interesting to say the least. But yeah, why would this video have been taken down? Because it's violated YouTube's community guidelines. And like I said, and I've reported on it, when you're reporting on COVID, yeah, basically you have to repeat WHO talking points or suffer the consequences. Now, me, I have, like I say, I have to make sure I go through after the fact, click all the things, say that I'm actually talking about. I make sure I'm preempting and doing all these little things to make sure that they don't have an excuse to take down my videos. So hopefully my videos will remain intact because I've made sure. Now, you would think this channel from 23 did a pretty good job, but apparently they don't really worry about channels like mine. I mean, it's so tiny. What are they worried about? A couple hundred people that might see my channel? Now, if I was more popular, maybe they'd be more focused on taking down my content. But so far, like I say, as of yet, I haven't had any issues in terms of my actual video. Now, getting them monetized, more difficult. But in terms of my videos, they're all up as of yet. So get while the getting's good, folks. No, I expect they damn well better be. But anyways, so let me get back to, and it's too bad I had to finally close that up, though. I literally had it there on so I could show you folks in real time. She had one job. She's doing exactly what she's told to. Yeah. Damn order followers. Hey, what's going on, Mr. G. Rich? Good morning to you, sir. Okay, where are we at here? Oh, I see Mario Greco was in there. Let me just get back up. All right, scrolling back down then. Shared the stream on Twitter just now. If anyone can please share. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's the thing. I was going to try to multi-stream and do another one where it's uploaded directly to Periscope on Twitter. But once again, unfortunately, my internet connection is so crap that if I do, it just makes things so difficult for people to watch. And I understand. I wouldn't want to put people through that kind of crap. So, oh, I see Ken's in the chat. Dr. Tam's second income is working in a cookie factory. He used her face to make Gorilla biscuits. Yeah. Okay, where are we at here? There we go. Yep, video's unavailable in Canada. Can confirm. Yeah, I know, Mario, but like I say, you can get all that. Like I say, there's redundancy out there. Fortunately, it's not too difficult for people. Hey, what's going on, Rika? Nice to see you again today, Rika. But yeah, Mario, for sure. I know it's crazy, right? Especially now, I'm not sure which one you're talking about in particular, but if it's the one with the Dr. Erickson or even the Vice one, both of them. So, like, there's definitely a massive amount of suppression taking place in this country in terms of what you're allowed to see and hear in terms of this COVID-19 outbreak, which just goes to show how bad they are at doing what they're doing. The fact that they got to try to silence or suppress people that are offering alternative perspectives. That's how you know you have the wrong idea and that it's pure propaganda. You're scared to allow anyone else see or hear anything else. I mean, come on. I wouldn't care if there was 20 different people giving you a bunch of rhetoric or bullshit. Why? Because I'm confident enough in the information that I provide that, yeah, even if someone offers bullshit information, well, I can point out how ridiculous. Like, I mean, if we're wrong, just point out that we're wrong, right? But they can't do that, right? Mario Greco, you mean Moore's or the California doctors? Tucker spoke about 2 doctors last night. Social media giants or the new governments. They need to be broken up like Standard Oil was. That's the thing when it comes to that, though, Bernard, is just, listen, I'm against some of these social media platforms doing what they're doing for sure, 100%. But getting government involved or regulating or controlling them, it's just going to solidify their power. Trust me, that's last thing you ever want to do is get government to regulate anything, because once they regulate, it's well, they call it regulatory capture. Now you actually are part and parcel of government at that point in time, and it's literally embedded into the legislation, right? So no, that last thing you want is government regulating social media platforms, right? At the very least, as it is, yeah, they're fucking with us. But look, We've all got alternative sources or media outlets we can all go to. Come on, Minds wouldn't fuck with you like that. Gab won't mess with you like that. ThinkSpot says they won't even take anything down unless it's actually proven to be an actual crime based on U.S. freedom of speech laws. So, and then you got Locals, Dave Rubin's platform that I'm on. Oh my God, there's a ton of platforms out there, folks. So listen, we don't need government to regulate social media pages. If we're worried about that, the kind of suppression that's taking place, we can find each other on other platforms. The last thing we want to do is get government involved with regulating the internet or social media platforms, because then that's just hastening, that's quickening the pace to the demise of our ability to speak freely, right? So no, definitely not. Anyone here ever try to participate in public opinion polls? I've been trying to find, I can't find any. I want to participate. Anyone know where to go? Actually, now that you bring that up, Sunwares, now I didn't really want to say anything because if I don't have an actual screen capture, and usually I do, usually when I see stuff like that, I'll screen capture just so that I have it as a something of record to show later. And I'm really disappointed in myself that I didn't. But I had saw that poll by Global News earlier on when I was streaming on my Twitter feed. But at the time, if I remember correctly, and I believe I do, that actually the numbers were actually flipped. It was like, I don't know, 60-some% or so, whatever, that was against, what was the name of it here? Just one sec. It's against a vaccine being mandatory. And like I said, I'm going to be covering that article shortly too. But after they released the poll, and it was an online Twitter poll on their like Global News embedded in their actual Twitter page or their Twitter feed, and they even admit in the article that, yeah, you can't even give it an error rating in terms of how accurate it is, because when it's an online poll, as we know, I mean, everyone knows that you can just get a whole bunch of people to go over and switch the results just by ganging up or just getting a whole lot of people to quickly run to the poll and politicize it, right? You know what I mean? So that you don't get proper numbers. Now, of course, they've probably done the exact same thing, but I've seen how that can happen and take place many times myself. But now they're basically trying to use this pretense that polls that most Canadians are supporting forced vaccinations. And I guess that's try to make you believe that, oh, well, I guess I better accept this stuff because it seems like most of my peers are willing to force me to comply with vaccination, which, yeah, don't go with that stuff. Don't fall for that stuff. Like I say, I wouldn't even give a fuck if 99% Canadians said, I'm all for forced vaccination. Well, hey, if you believe in minority rights, well, I'm an individual, and that's the smallest minority on the planet. And I have the right not to have these things forced upon me or jammed into my arm against my express permission, right? So, but anyways, but actually, yeah, now that, actually, why don't I just cover that? So now I'm going to be a little bit all over the place, but because that was brought up, let me just bring that up, actually, because I thought that was quite an interesting article. So let's get right into that, shall we? Actually, let me just take a quick little sip here. I'm just going to close out each one of them as soon as I get to them, so I remember which one I've covered. So let's get right into it here. Where is it? There we go. Okay, make sure everyone can see that. And let's see if the fonts are big enough. Yeah, oh yeah, they're plenty big enough. Huge, actually. Massive. Probably don't even need it that big. But as you can see, it was a Global News article. Should the COVID-19 vaccine be mandatory? New poll suggests Canadians are divided. Well, at least they admit they're divided, right? This was by Lee Berthom, Canadian Press. So it was a Canadian Press, and then they're republishing it on the Global News. April 28, 2020. While researchers across the planet race to find a vaccine for COVID-19, a new poll suggests Canadians are divided over whether getting it should be mandatory or voluntary, setting up a potentially prickly public health debate if a vaccine becomes available. The federal government has committed tens of millions of dollars to help find or create a vaccine for the novel coronavirus that causes COVID-19, the respiratory illness that has infected at least 48,000 Canadians and killed more than 2,700. And yeah, if you do the numbers, I checked them this morning. If you take the 2,700, although I think that was from yesterday, it was 2,300 something. But either way, you're still looking at like into the tenths of a percentile. So not even a tenth of a percent yet. Or sorry, into the hundreds of a percentile. So not even if you're talking about the population of Canada and expand that out to 37 million, use the exact same measurements that they do or that the doctors in California do, if you extrapolate that data out, yeah, it basically works out to less than 1/10%. So anyways, so there's that, right? Yet the poll conducted by Leger and the Association for Canadian Studies found that while 60% of respondents believe people should be required to get the vaccine once it is ready, the other 40% think it should be voluntary. Well, I'll tell you one thing, even just on the sheer numbers, you think the 60% of respondents are going to be able to force the 40% of respondents to comply? Bring it on, bitches. That's why I said actually when I shared this on my social media pages, like the follow-up question of this poll should have been, if you support mandatory vaccination, are you willing to pin me down or restrain me as a doctor's trying to force that into my fucking arm or wherever else they're trying to do it? Are you willing to do that to me personally? Because if you're not, then you should shut your fucking mouth, because all you're really doing is advocating for someone else to have to do that, right? And like I say, I'm not going to take kindly to anybody, and people are going to get fucking hurt if someone tries to force me into anything. People are definitely going to get hurt because I believe in self-defense, right? If someone uses force or violence against me, yeah, I don't believe in just turning the other cheek. Sorry, I'm not a pacifist in that way. No, I do wholly believe in defending myself, which I would do if anyone ever tried to force anything into me. So that's the thing with these people when they take these polls. Yeah, it's not just a hypothetical. They're obviously not willing to even own up the fact that that's based on real world. If, like I say, if the government decides to do that, are you really willingly supporting people forcing me to comply? Now, I get that there's quite a few authoritarian Canadians that secretly under the breath would say, yeah, but would they be willing to say it to my fucking face or publicly? No, of course not. While that doesn't mean only 60% would get the vaccine themselves, Leger Executive Vice President Christian Bork nonetheless said he would have expected much higher support for a mandatory vaccine given the scale and scope of the pandemic. Why? Just because you believe in political bullshit and rhetoric from your media mouthpieces and your political overlords? What, you thought more people would fall for the same kind of rhetoric? Well, I guess you better get caught up to speed. That, yeah, especially those of us who are online and don't just read tabloid fucking rags such as the establishment media, newspapers, and the hacks and the establishment media. No, like I say, there's still some critical thinking taking place on the internet as of yet. So, there's lots of us out here. Just because the media tries to suppress or deny we exist, well, these polls, right, at least the numbers should represent that, yeah. And I don't even believe, like I said, I don't even necessarily believe the final tally of the number, other than the fact that would you get a bunch of lefties say, okay, everyone go quick rush to the poll before it's closing, and make sure the numbers are right, because it is something that's easy done on those online polls. It's almost as if it's seen as just another flu vaccine, Bork told the Canadian press. I myself would have expected a higher number given the severity, given the crisis we're in. But Canadians are kind of divided on this. Gee, you think? The Leger poll was conducted April 24th, 26th, and surveyed, it was only 1,515 adult Canadians, right? And from a fucking, recruited from Leger's online panel. Actually, let me, I hate to do this, folks, because I know it's going to take a minute, but I found this to be freaking amazing. I found it to be absolutely amazing. Where was that? Now I got to find it. Oh, crap. Wait a minute. Or is it embedded in the actual tweet? Or in here, actually? Crap. Where would I be able to find that? Shoot, because now I got to get down to that point. Folks, this sucks. Probably should have had that done. Anyways, I'm not going to be able to. But basically, someone had done as a reply, because on Twitter, you can reply. And if someone wants to go ahead and check that out, go ahead, like I say, because it was quite amazing. Because now that I'm reading the numbers once again, 1,550 or 15, someone had actually done a poll as a reply to this poll on the Global News Twitter page, where you find this. Someone had actually replied and commented to it with another poll that they did, which is basically the exact same kind of poll, an online Twitter poll. So it was actually the exact same kind of poll done in the same manner, using the same platform and everything. And it had, I think, at the time, about 14 or 1,500 people that had, hit yes or no. And actually, the poll that they had posted gave the exact opposite result. So it's like, well, which is it? You put out the poll and said it's 60-40, but yet the person that's commenting right on your poll and the article from your Twitter page, they did their own online poll and it was completely flipped upside down. So you see how you can manipulate these polls quite easily and quite readily to come out with whatever result you want, right? Based on who the hell you're sharing it, what the type of group or the type of people that are going to share that kind of poll, right? So come on. I mean, we all know how easy it is, like these, especially the online polls, which is why they've even had to admit that, yeah, there isn't even a margin of error because it's like, it could be anything. Might as well say, like, let me flip a coin because you get basically about as scientific as a result, right? Anyways, freaking insane. Back to, so yeah, let me close out of Twitter again, but back to, so here, get back. It's almost, okay. Adult Canadians recruited from legit. Okay, the internet-based survey. Yeah, see, the internet-based survey cannot be assigned a margin of error because online polls are not considered random samples. Exactly. So why run this article? Like, why would Global News even run an article like this that they even acknowledge is, like I say, could have flipped the coin and got the same kind of basic results, right? What does that mean? What does that mean? So why would you want to run this as a media article unless you're trying to convince Canadian people that, well, you should conform to the majority, right? Anyways, check this out. This part I found to be quite interesting. Older Canadians who are most at risk of serious harm from COVID-19 were more likely to support a mandatory vaccine. Them old authoritarian boomers are still at it. Like, yeah, who cares about like I say, they love eating their kids' grandkids. And like I say, not all, I'm not talking about, there's a huge portion of the boomer cohort. It's not like that. So I'm talking about the ones that are. So like I say, don't get all triggered if you're a boomer and you think I'm talking about you, unless you are an authoritarian. But no, obviously not, right? Not if you're watching my stream. But I'm just saying, listen, it's something that I recognized growing up my whole fucking life. It's like, do as I say, don't, not as I do. And they're just talking contradictions and very, very much control freaks these days. But the fact that, yeah, sure, of course. Oh, someone might cause harm to me. Oh, yeah, well, you better use force against other people just to protect me. But wait a minute, that means you're using force against people that actually have it. Just because there's a what if. It's that old what if. Ooh, what if? Some harm might come to me, so do whatever causes as much harm to as many people as you want, as long as it doesn't come to me. Like I say, the most entitled, selfish. That's why, like I say, every time they suggest that, the younger millennials and such are the entitled generation, like, really, though? Might want to look at who raised them. Right? Or at least a lot of them. Oh, okay. So, yeah. And in addition to, so a lot of the older boomers, which probably that are those government workers, an older boomer that works for government, that's a lefty. Yeah, that's basically his look. Respondents who identified themselves as likely to vote liberal were also more likely to agree with a mandatory vaccine, while those leaning conservative were least likely. Are you thinking how messed? This is the Orwellian world that we live in today, where people want to use the term liberal, right? Liberals historically were all about liberal in terms of giving you your freedoms, right? That was the whole pretense of to be liberal, right? Is to expand on liberating people or giving them their freedoms. But look, in the Orwellian world we live today, no, it's the liberals that want to use government force against you, and it's the conservatives who are least likely. So I can say, what an Orwellian world, right? What an Orwellian world we live in today. Bork suggests this was a reflection of ideological differences seen throughout the crisis. Those on the left of the political spectrum are more willing to accept government intervention than those on the right who prioritize personal freedoms. Actually, that's quite normal historically, as conservatives did tend to, support smaller, limited government, whereas liberals were definitely more about, expanding the social role of government. But the fact, like I said, the fact that personal freedoms are now something that liberals are turning against, like, just goes to show. Are they truly liberals? Like I've said so many times in the past, no. Anyways, folks, so yeah, I'll just tie this one up because I think that I covered pretty much most of what was needed or necessary in terms of important or pertinent information. But yeah, unbelievable, right? Liberals and older boomers that are liberal. Older boomer, well, like I say, the progressive boomer, or because I don't even like calling them liberals because they're not. They're just not. Like, just can we just stop using that kind of? They're not. These so-called progressive or leftist, authoritarian, collectivist boomers, yeah, they are still in charge of a lot of things in this country, and as you can see, they still have a lot of pull or power in terms of affecting how this country is run and how their younger people are treated. And I hope, like I say, I hope at some point in time that's going to change, because it's damn near time that a lot of those older folks, get the fuck out of Dodge and leave the younger people alone. Like, you've oppressed them long enough, decades and decades and decades of constantly fucking micromanaging, dictating your successive generations' social and economic lives. Yeah, just shut up and fuck off and go the fuck home. Enjoy your goddamn retirement, for Christ's sakes, would you? You bunch of petty fucking tyrants. Yeah, they make me sick. Sorry, folks, but yeah, that stuff, because like I say, I've known enough of these people in my own personal life, and they make me want to literally throw up in my mouth. Yeah, where was that one? Oh, I believe that too. Bernard. I like how you got the little meme in there, or the little emoticon thing there. Thanks, Missy. Where did that go? I thought I saw something there that I was interested in, but it's no longer. I must have scrolled too far past it. Okay, back down to the bottom. I see mistakes of this size are never made incorrectly. Rand. Where did they get all the Chromebooks for Canadian children for home? Yeah, I don't know. Well, all right, I'm down to the bottom. It seems like, yeah, there's not nearly as many peeps in the stream today. Oh, maybe everyone just got busy. But anyways, I'm going to get back to, okay, where was it? Okay, so back to the propaganda part. Like I said, I'm going to try to rip through some of these articles here a little quicker. What are we at? It's almost at an hour now. So yeah, let me get some stuff tied up here. Do some house cleaning. Okay, this one is all about the media now starting to fight amongst each other, right? Fighting over that little bit of cheddar that's left out there for the failing media and news industry. And like I say, when they constantly talking that they have to get a bailout because, and they say, they have a subscription problem or a viewer problem or a reader problem. Listen, if you have a successful business model and you offer a product or service that people want, they'll voluntarily pay for it. Hello, that Econ 101, right? So if you can't make a profit, or if you can't make your business model function, and especially in this modern digital era where you don't even have to use the old physical print newspapers, you can put all that stuff online and charge like what, 1/100th of the price, because you don't have all the bricks and mortar aspects of that you have to pay for. So easy to reproduce these kinds of things online, and literally for like next to nothing in terms of cost. So the fact that these media organizations can't seem to make their business model stick, especially in the digital era, tells you that it's because people just don't trust you, and people are not going to pay to be propagandized, right? Or at least most people don't. I get that there's still some people that like to go and pick up those tabloids, like like what, the Globe or what's some of those other ones, the Inquirer, right? Some of these things that you get at the grocery checkout that's just truly just sensationalized bullshit crap, right? But some people might want to pay for that, but most people don't. And when you're talking about real news, most people are like, oh, if I'm going to pay for my news, I'm going to make sure I'm getting it from a good, reliable source that's not constantly manipulating or deceiving, right? Sorry, most people aren't willing to pay for that, which is why most of the established media outlets no longer have a genuine business model. And the only reason why CBC continues to function seemingly unfettered is because, yeah, they have the ability to force Canadian taxpayers to prop them up and pay for them. But some of the other media outlets in this country aren't too happy with that very real fact that they have to compete not just with each other, but with Canada's Communist Broadcast Corporation, right? That's getting all these extra subsidies, bailouts, and advantages over them. So there's a headline out of the National Post. CBC accused by Quebecor of disgracefully and unscrupulously exploiting COVID-19 crisis. CBC is forbidden by regulation from selling advertising on public radio, but Quebecor says clients who buy ads elsewhere in the network are given interviews and non-sponsored live coverage on radio. An unfair workaround, right? So like I say, they just found a way to skirt the rules. That's like I say, they don't believe in rules, right? That's the thing. The bunch of freaking CBC people, you're a bunch of anarchists, man. We don't believe in rules. Right? Come on. Of course they're going to try to skirt the rules. They're so not just unscrupulous, but corrupt to the core. This was Tyler Dawson, April 22nd, 2020. One of the largest private media companies in Quebec has written a scathing letter to the Canadian Radio, Television, Telecommunications Commission, claiming that the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, the Communist Broadcasting Corporation, is trying to put its competitors out of business in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. The letter from Quebecor, dated April 14th, alleges, among other things, predatory behavior on the part of the CBC in the advertised market and comes as the CBC seeks the renewal of its television and radio licenses from the CRTC. The letter claims CBC is behaving disgracefully and unscrupulously during the COVID-19 pandemic, competing in an entirely unfair and unprecedented manner while remaining shielded from the costs and impacts of the current crisis, right? Exactly. Meanwhile, private broadcasters and media have been hit hard while advertising revenue dries up. This is precisely why public organizations such as Crown corporations are not eligible for government grants during this crisis, and that should remain the case, the letter says. Quebecor, headed by Pierre-Carl Paladou, the former leader of the Parti Québécois, operates Le Journal de Montréal tabloid newspaper, and TVA Group operates the TVA television network in Quebec. The federal government funds CBC with approximately $1.5 billion a year, and the CBC is permitted to compete with private broadcasters for advertising, which it places on its television networks, websites, and other digital properties. Next month, a CRTC hearing in Gatineau will hear CBC's application for the renewal of its television and radio broadcast licenses. Quebecor sent the letter signed by Peggy Tibet, Quebecor's Vice President of Broadcast and Regulatory Affairs, saying it should be considered on an urgent basis and placed in the public record in advance of the regulatory hearings. It asked the CRTC and the government, Stephen Gilbert, the Federal Heritage Minister, is copied on the letter to promptly address these critical issues, though it does not specify how. So anyways, folks, like I say, so there's that. And of course, we all know that CBC, right? Unscrupulous practices. Like, well, no crap. No shit, Sherlock. But anyways, let's get to this next one. Because like I say, the pandemic of propaganda. And man, is it ever in full effect these days, right? Propaganda and the suppression of alternative voices or narratives. It's rampant these days. And then there's this. As if the $600 million bailout wasn't enough, right? Well, you got to believe under the federal liberals when it comes to propaganda and keeping the media in their favor and repeating those political talking points without pushing back against it, well, that's a priority for sure, as it's being rightly pointed out, right? So this is a CBC article under the business section. Financially struggling newspapers to get federal money within weeks, Heritage Minister says. Newspapers don't have an audience problem. They have a revenue problem, says publisher. No, they have an audience problem, right? Because if you had the audience, people would be paying. Oh, come on. Unbelievable. Anyways, this is Charles Rusnell, April 27th, 2020. Federal Heritage Minister Stephen Gilboa says he expects money from an emergency COVID-19 general business wage subsidy program to start flowing within weeks to Canada's beleaguered newspaper industry. Wow. Everybody. Government bailing everybody out, right? Everybody going to live off of everybody else. Well, who's going to be paying the bills, right? Now, the lowly taxers that don't get all these government handouts, right? You know who you are. You're the one, right? Or your kids or grandkids. Critics say this financial lifeline may come too late, however, to save the pandemic crisis accelerated loss of newspapers and media jobs. That's the thing. When people are inundated with this kind of pandemic information, don't you think they're seeking it? And I've heard lots of reports actually already where people are saying, no, people are actually pivoting towards more news. Actually, news organizations are gaining a larger audience because people are concerned about this. And if people are concerned about these things, where do they pivot to? Some source for news and information regarding it. So like to pretend that, oh, people just what? Just don't pay attention to the news anymore? No, what it is these hacks in the news have lied and manipulated the people. They've cried wolf so many times that people are like, no, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me a gazillion times, no more, right? Anyways, specifically because a stalled $595 million financial system program announced 2 years ago has yet to provide any money to increasingly desperate newspaper publishers. Hey, that's a failure of you trusted big government to bail you out. And look, they're even proving that they're not even good at doing that. So, hey, maybe you should start holding government to account instead of keep kissing up them for a bigger chunk of that the collective pie that, we're all forced to pay. It's not like we offered you a piece. Right? Not offering you a piece. Matter of fact, we're saying, no, you're not getting out of this at all. And they're like, oh, I'm going to take it. And if I can't take it directly, well, I'll get big government to take a piece for me and give it to me. I was like, well, you asked them to do it. 2 years later, they still haven't done it. I don't know. At some point in time, maybe you should stop trusting those in government. Keep that hope up there, buddy. Right. This is a very long time to wait for the newspaper business when newspapers are closing almost every week, said Winnipeg Free Press publisher Bob Cox, who's also chair of the Canadian News Media Organization and the History Lobby Group earlier this. I wonder if this guy has any bias at all, right? In industry. CBC. Is this CBC here? Well, let me throw you a bone. We'll cover it in our Oh, man. Cox said he doesn't know exactly how many newspapers have closed since the pandemic began, but it has been dozens, including more than 20 in the Maritimes. At least 6 publications in Quebec have dropped money to Friday print editions, and 4 have closed in Manitoba. Really? I would never notice. You could close most of them down, and most of us would never notice because most newspapers and these publications these days, they don't do much in terms of actual investigative reporting. Once again, they're just copy and pasters. So do we really need to pay? Like, we can prop up all kinds of copy and pasters, right? Hey, my Next Gen News and Views can do all that, and I don't need a whole lot. Matter of fact, I don't need any government bailout at all. I'll just keep doing it myself. So, right? Do you really need them? And I could function off basically a penny per subscription, and still be able to profit from it. Why? Because it's not too hard to copy and paste stuff. Right? Oh, come on. Quebec or which owns anyways, folks, so there's that. They're still struggling to get some of that government cheddar, so they're not happy about it, and they're hoping that this Gilboa will correct that at some point in time. But like I say, if you have a proper business model, you don't need to ask government to force Canadian taxpayers to buy your newspapers. Like just so much failed. These people, like I say, they were explained a long time ago. You really should start going digital. You should start adopting an online platform and start to monetize that in some way. It'd probably be a good idea to get in front of this. No, don't worry. We're all good. Well, get caught with your pants down once again, huh? Sounds like you failed miserably. Sounds like your company is going to go the same route. Well, bad stewardship, bad ownership, bad management. Well, that's what happened, folks. That's what bankruptcies are for, right? It's all right. You live to try another day. Just don't expect the Canadian taxpayer to keep propping you up. Okay, I like that one. Best comment today, Rika. Right on. I'm going to leave that up there for a sec because I really, really like it. Government is definitely non-essential. 100%. Totally agree with you there. Actually, I better take it down so I can share the rest of the streams. Okay, so we got that one done. Oh yeah, let's get to this Epoch Time thing because I thought that was quite hilarious. It's funny actually because Epoch Times is one of the advertisers that advertises like on my YouTube channel, because my channel is monetized. When there's ads on my videos, it is Epoch Times, right? That actually is advertised on my channel, right? So yeah, go Epoch. Not suggesting, like I say, that like I say, I don't get into the whole politics of these things because I recognize that bias rests and resides on a lot in pretty much all media. At least most of them or some of them can be honest and forthright about it. But the fact that the CBC is coming up with an article about this, check this, folks. This is just hilarious because the irony of Canada's state-funded broadcast, like, right? It's Canada's national broadcaster, right? State-funded, although they force taxpayers to pay for it, but they would say it's government-funded, right? But how's government funded? By stealing from the taxpayers. But it's the propagandist arm of the Canadian government, right? The national broadcaster, and they're all upset and in arms about this Epoch Times. Let's hear what they've got to say. I've already kind of touched down on it, but let's just read a little bit here. So like I said, the heading, racist and inflammatory. Canadians upset. Is it Canadians or is it you? Is it really Canadians or is it CBC loyalists and acolytes or CBC fans? I would suggest that it's not Canadians, and in terms of all Canadians, right? Can you try to discern some difference? Because, there are differences and discrepancies between us 37 million Canadians, right? But CBC don't want to let you know that. It's like we're all talking with one voice and being against this Epoch Times, which obviously is not the case. Racist and inflammatory. Canadians upset by Epoch Time claim China behind virus made it as a bioweapon. Special edition delivered to homes to attract new subscribers. So I guess CBC realized that they got some serious competition and they're going to try to discredit them right away to get in front of that, right? Can't have anyone offer an alternative source of news or information or a perspective now, can we, CBC? This is reported by Andrea Bellemare, Jason Ho, and Katie Nicholson, April 29th, 2020. The Epoch Times, a free newspaper typically found in street boxes, is coming under fire. Hey, at least it's free. Hey, there you go. If you can't afford to buy any of those failing newspapers in Canada, well, you can always pick up the Epoch Times. You can get that for free. Why? Because they probably have lots of advertisers or people that back that up. Anyways, let's see. Free newspaper typically found in street box coming under fire for advancing conspiracy theory about the origins of the coronavirus and putting it straight into people's mailboxes unsolicited. Some Canadians who received it by mail and a postal carrier who says he is forced to deliver it. poor bugger. Oh, you mean you have to deliver mail as a postal carrier? Oh, poor fella. Or her, whatever. Postal carrier didn't say it was a guy or girl, but it's like, really? Oh no, I have to deliver these things. Does it hurt you? Where did it touch you? Show me where it touched you. Show me where the Epoch Times paper touched you. Oh man, you gotta laugh, right? Who says he's forced to deliver it are angry over a special 8-page edition. They're so angry about it. Listen, I don't want Canadians to see this stuff. Why? Why are you so controlling over what people see and hear? Why is that? That seems like a personal issue there. It seems like you got a very serious tendency to be quite authoritarian, be quite controlling in nature, right? You might want to do something about that. Exploring the idea that the virus that caused COVID-19 was created as a biological weapon and arguing it should be called the CCP virus, a reference to the Communist Chinese Party. CBC, the Communist Broadcast Corporation, don't like anyone insulting, the communist leaders around the world. Like, come on now. People in Oakville, Etobicoke, Markham, and Toronto, Ontario all reported getting copies of a special edition of the Epoch Times, as did residents of North Vancouver and Kelowna, BC, and Winnipeg. It's not clear that all those papers were delivered by Canada Post. Oh no, it's a conspiracy. conspiracy of a bunch of people going around delivering these papers to people freely. For what? To trick them into believing something that the establishment media doesn't believe. So, Lisa Armstrong and Kelowna found a copy in her royal mailbox. Oh, no. Oh, no, look there. That must be Lisa there. Oh, that must have been rough, Lisa. Ooh, that looks scary. Look at that, folks. Look at how scary that looks. Poor Lisa. She might have PTSD. It did seem to allude to conspiracy theories like, maybe it was manufactured. This virus was manufactured in the lab. Well, no, we know scientifically that's just not true. Oh, you do, huh? Well, no one on the whole planet so far has yet to figure out where the virus came from. So if they don't know where it came from, by natural extension, they can't prove that it didn't come from that. And as far as I know, there hasn't been no evidence by any media establishment or alternative that has suggested that it has been proven conclusively to be not the case. But, well, this Lisa here, well, she knows, right? I guess the CBC told her so. So, well, that's an authoritative source. According to her, anyways, right? Scientists have repeatedly said the evidence points to the coronavirus having a natural origin. Jason Kindrachuk, a Canadian research chair in emergency viruses at the University of Manitoba, says that through studying the genome of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, scientists can see it as similar to other bat coronaviruses, and it likely evolved naturally. You know what? Likely that's not conclusive, right? That's not a scientific consensus, right? And even if there was a scientific consensus, is it scientifically provable, right? I don't give a shit if you can get a whole bunch of scientists to agree with each other, because their opinion doesn't mean anything. The evidence, the research should speak for itself. So I don't really need a scientist's opinion or perspective. I just need the facts and the science. And based on this, there is no science, and likely does not suggest not possible, right? There is an unbelievably high consensus. So, right, there is an unbelievably high consensus within the scientific community at this point that there is very close to zero, if not zero, chance that the virus was ever engineered, right? So look at how many different ways to try to, because that's, like I say, that's legalese. It's like, okay, we can't actually come out and straight up say that it's a 0% chance of this being, they can't say it's impossible. So you come up with there's an unbelievably high consensus within the scientific community at this point that there's very close to zero, if not zero, chance that the virus was ever engineered. So it's like really, like you've hedged your like holy hedging, but it's basically someone that's trying to play politics without actually having to. I mean, it would have been a real easy thing to say, yeah, there's no proof that it didn't. There's no proof that it did, but there's no proof that it didn't either, right? Armstrong was also worried that issues anti-Communist Party messaging could inflame racial tensions in Canada. It's against the Communist Party. It's against the government of China, the Communist Party. It says right there, the Communist Party, right? It's not that Canadians are saying that it's the Chinese people. What do you think? The Canadians are all like, oh, I don't understand the difference between the Communist Party and the 1.5 billion fucking Chinese citizens. CBC. Come on. Oh, CBC. How much fail? Oh, I know. Lots more to go yet. Don't worry. Lots more. It really feels racist and inflammatory, Armstrong said. It just feels like it's racist, right? It's my feels, man. Fuck the facts. Fuck science. It's the feels. It's all about the feels, right? And yet they're trying to talk about scientists. Well, it just feels like it. Oh, man. Go on. Is Maury still around? No, Maury checks for... Is Jerry still around? Yeah, go send these characters to Jerry Springer somewhere, right? Right now, we're all scared. No, actually, we're not all scared. You might be, but not all of us are. We're all vulnerable. Yeah, that's possible, right? We don't know what's going to happen next. There's somebody that starts playing on these fears. It's a very dangerous thing to do at this time. Oh, no, to offer a counter narrative to the political propaganda from your media mind controllers, right? It's like, oh no, you can't do that. You can't do those things. It's not clear how many households in Canada received the paper. Oh no. Cindy Gu, the publisher of the Epoch Times, declined to say how many copies of the issue were distributed. In an email to CBC News, Gu said the publication has been delivering copies to specific neighborhoods. The Epoch Times has recently been sampling copies of a special edition on Beijing's cover-up that led to a global pandemic in select areas because we consider that information to be important to Canadians. We regard this sampling as an act of good citizenship, she wrote. This is a standard way of raising brand awareness and recruiting new subscribers. So actually, I did watch that Epoch Times documentary and telling about how, China failed miserably, right? And the WHO in terms of improperly notifying the West and trying to suppress the truth coming out of that country, right? So very good for the Epoch Times for trying to properly inform Canadian people. Who disagrees that the newspaper will fuel racism against people of Chinese background? Some people may have enormously conflated criticism of the Chinese Communist Party with criticism of the Chinese people. Some people may have erroneously conflated criticism of the Chinese Communist Party with criticism of the Chinese people, she wrote. Understanding the difference is vital and will eliminate racial tension as people come to understand that the criticism of the handling of the virus is of the CCP, not the Chinese people. And I mean, the fact that the CBC, like I say, Canada State broadcaster, trying to discredit the Epoch Times. And who is the Epoch Times? Let's just hear about a little bit more expanded background on the Epoch Times. The Epoch Times, headquartered in New York, is part of a group of organizations under the Epoch Media Group umbrella, which also includes the Shen Young Dance Troupe and the New Sang Dynasty TV channel. It says it operates in 23 languages in 35 countries. A sociology professor says the Epoch's media group is affiliated with the Falun Gong movement, a religious group that began in China and was declared illegal and a cult by the Chinese government in 1999. So it sounds like an oppressed minority group in China is who started this, right? Gee, I wonder, maybe because they weren't allowed to speak openly and freely in that country, so they wanted to have some media organization or way to present their own information because they were suppressed as a minority group within the Communist Party or in China, right? So CBC is trying to discredit a minority group in China that's trying to offer counter narratives or counter perspectives to the communist propaganda and help people in the Western world to get counter narratives and perspectives on news and information coming out of China or in the West. Like this is how insane this is CBC is basically trying to discredit, like I say, people that are literally just trying to hold governments or the communist government to account. Unbelievable. Chinese government persecutes them and oppresses their religious rights, right? So CBC going after an oppressed group. That's what CBC is doing, is going after and trying to discredit an oppressed group. Like I said, I don't know much about the Falun Gong. I've heard about them many years ago, but I don't have a whole lot of information. And like I say, it's not a matter of that anyways, whether I believe them or not. But the fact, like I say, even like say Russia, it's not like I trust all the Russian media lists, but there's, even your enemy, especially if you share another common enemy, you can find some common ground sometimes if two people that are normally not aligned with each other, but have a common enemy, right? There's always that, right? Anyways, let me just read this a little bit here. Falun Gong followers started to organize large-scale protests against the Chinese government's attempt to suppress the practice. So it just evolved into this very antagonistic relationship between the Chinese government and this religious group, said Xiaoping Li, a professor at Okanagan College who studies media outlets that serve the Chinese Canadian diaspora. There are many stories about how group members were persecuted in China. There could be certain exaggerations, but definitely there's persecution and there are violations of human rights. So it's even acknowledged and contained within the article. But like I say, the headline that CBC wanted to go with is racist and inflammatory and Canadians are upset by the. So once again, this is Canada's propagandist network, well, doing the dirty work for China and trying to discredit that minority group who's oppressed and has their human rights violated, while they're trying to hold the Communist Party of China to account. So unbelievable, right? Unbelievable, folks. Although I shouldn't say unbelievable. It's very believable. What's there not to believe at this point in time? Okay, let me get back to the chat. Yeah, propaganda from the CBC. Imagine what these CBC journalist secretaries are getting paid for the BS hippies. A grade 6 could come up with better shit than they print and blab. Yeah, I agree. Anyways, so let's get to, because like I say, there's still more, and I'm going to try to tie this stream up. Where are we at here? 124. Yeah, I definitely want to tie it up before we get to the 2-hour mark. So let me get the next one going here. There we go. Make sure everyone can see that. Yep. So just when you remember, we were all told that, the date and time, we don't know, could be 2021, could be 2022, according to Trudeau and some of them in terms of when this might be let up, in terms of allowing us to actually go out and get back to having an actual life here in this country. But at the very least, I think most Canadians remember that the whole reason, the major excuse for all these lockdowns and for the suppression and denial of all our inherent rights and liberties was to flatten the curve. Right? Once we flattened the curve, based on the political rhetoric at the time, or the information that was being presented towards Canadians from those in the established media, was that, hey, or like I say, the politicians in charge, the Trudeau Liberals, was that, hey, we just got to flatten the curve. Hey, listen, I know this is going to be rough. I know we're destroying and quashing your inherent rights, freedoms, and liberties, but listen, it's only going to be very short time frame and temporary, just as long as we can flatten this curve. Flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve. That's what we heard. Like, how many times did you hear? Flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve. Just nonstop. That was the political talking point by all those in the established media. It was all about, hey, you got to give up your rights. You got to give up your liberties. You got to give up your job. You got to give up your livelihood. You got to give up a tremendous amount of what it is to be a free human being in this country, but we have to do it because we got to do it to flatten the curve. Meanwhile, what's the new narrative? Now that the curve has not only been flattened, but pretty much in all provinces in this country, even Quebec and Ontario that has had the largest outbreak, has seen their numbers greatly decrease and have basically flattened the curve. So the curve's been flattened. So we're basically moved to that point, or maybe a little bit beyond that point, of flattening the curve. So shouldn't this be the time to actually genuinely open up? Not just pretend, but no. The way they want you to think about this is, don't get your hopes up there, folks. Don't you dare get your folks up, Canada. No, we're here to disappoint. And we're here to, spoil your milk there for you. Make it go sour as quickly as humanly possible. This is an opinion piece out of CBC News. Why a flatter curve does not mean we've won the COVID-19 battle. Simple math reveals a sobering reality that suggests continued vigilance against virus is necessary. This was reported by Maxwell Smith, Ross Upshur, and James Downer. Holy crap, it took 3 of them just to write this up. It's like, wow, 3 of them. You really need all 3 of those people to just offer opinion like this. Anyways, whatever. This is April 29th, 2020. This column is an opinion by James Maxwell Smith, and Ron Downer is the head of Division of Palliative Care at the University of Ottawa and a critical care position at the Ottawa Hospital. Smith is a bioethicist and co-director of the Health Ethics Law and Policy Lab, University of Western Ontario. Upshur is a professor in the Department of Family and Community Medicine, University of Toronto, and associate director of the Lunenfield Tannenbaum Research Institute. For more information, okay. In a COVID-19 press briefing on Tuesday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that the measures we have taken so far are working. In fact, in many parts of the country, the curve is flattened. While this is welcome news, our job is far from finished, as he was also quick to point out. To understand why we can use one of the simplest and oldest approaches to modeling infection diseases, the SIR model. S represents the number of those susceptible to infection, I represents the number of those who are currently infectious, and R represents the combined number of those who have recovered from the infection. By understanding how many Canadians are in each of these different categories, and at any one time, we can learn where Canada is and with respect to the spread of the virus, and use it to help us predict where we might be headed. At the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic, all 37 million Canadians were in the susceptible category. The high number of susceptible Canadians provided a forceful reason to take swift action to prevent Canadians from becoming infected. Infections which would overwhelm our acute and critical care resources, and likely result in numerous deaths. Strict measures were put in place, including quarantine, social distancing, school closures, and travel restrictions. What it was the failure of the medical institutions or those in the medical field to be properly prepared for an epidemic such as this, which has been talked about for, like I say, for a long time and decades. If you stretch it all the way back, as some people have said, all the way back to the 70s. So, they should have been able to be in a position to be able to handle this kind of outbreak without having to destroy or quash all of our freedoms or liberties. Okay, so likewise, decisions to scale back these public health measures must take into account not only the curve and the degree to which it has been flattened, but also the number of Canadians who remain susceptible to the virus. Assume that the recovery from the infection brings a measure of immunity. As more Canadians move from susceptible category to infectious and ultimately to recovered, we can reasonably conclude there will be less need for such aggressive social distancing and restrictive public health measures. Figures as of April 28th tell us that more than 49,000 Canadians have been confirmed as infected. Of that number, 2,766 Canadians have died, and the rest either remain infectious or have recovered. While these figures very likely underestimate the total number of cases and death, they amount to just over 0.1% they amount to just over 0.1% of our population. Right? That's if you just use the number of cases that have been confirmed and those who have died. So 49,000. But if you look at it, even if you look at it, the population in terms of if you take that 49,000 that have been infected and those who have died, and then extrapolate that out to use the 37 million Canadian that are alive, the death rate is so minute and so below, once again, even the common flu or the common cold, or not, I should say the common cold, but the yearly flu, that once again, do we lock down the entire segments of the economy or the country for the common flu or the seasonal flu? No. So what's the reason behind this? Anyways, folks, didn't need to read too much of that. I just thought it was important to get out there that, what I'm getting from that is they don't want you to think that you're going to be off the hook or being able to go outside anytime soon. That's my takeaway from that article is, don't get your hopes up just yet. And look at this. This was a headline article out of the Washington Times. It's actually, like I say, you're actually getting some media outlets that are actually starting to cover this with a counter narrative or a different perspective than many of those in the established media. As you can see, and this one is out of the Washington Times. Coronavirus hype, biggest political hoax in history. This was produced by Cheryl Chumley, Washington Times, April 28, 2020. Analysis opinion. The new coronavirus is real. The response to the coronavirus is hyped. And in time, this hype will be revealed as politically hoaxed. In fact, COVID-19 will go down as one of the political world's biggest, most shameful, overblown, overhyped, overly and irrational, inflated, and outright deceptively flawed responses to a health matter in American history. One that was carried largely on the lips of medical professionals who have no business running a national economy or government. The facts are this: COVID-19 is a real disease that sickens some. The facts are this: COVID-19 is a real disease that sickens some, proves fatal to others, mostly the elderly, and does nothing to the vast majority. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. That in a nutshell is it. Or, in the words of Dan Erickson and Artine Messier, doctors and co-owners of Accelerated Urgent Care in Bakersfield, California, let's get the country reopened and now. So that Dan Erickson, so that would be that video that I said that I got embedded in my Next Gen News and Views page that you can watch in its entirety. That was covered by that ABC 23, those reporters down there in California. And like I said, definitely check that video because, based on the numbers that these folks were reporting, there's definitely no reason to keep the economies or our countries locked down as they are. Do we still need to shelter in place? Our answer is emphatically no. Do we need businesses to be shut down? Emphatically no. The data is showing it's time to lift, Erickson said in a recent interview. He's right. Oh, shit. I forgot to turn that back, didn't I? Sorry, folks. I did that again. I wish someone had mentioned that. Never mind. There, it probably sounds a little better now. Shit, I forgot to do that. Damn it. Anyways, it is what it is. Okay. He's right. They're right. The data to keep America closed and Americans closed. The data to keep America closed and Americans closed is simply in. Oh, okay. The data to keep America closed and Americans closed in simply doesn't exist. If truth be told, it's questionable it ever did. The scientists leading the coronavirus shutdown charge predicted in March that in America, between 100,000 and 250,000 would die. They based those estimates on computer modeling. But at the same time, they were basing those estimates on computer modeling. They were acknowledging that computer modeling is inaccurate and errs on the side of hype. I've never seen a model of the disease I've dealt with where the worst case actually came out, said Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease and a member of President Donald Trump's White House Coronavirus Task Force, during a CNN interview in March. They always overshoot. Catch that? Fauci's message. Computer models are flawed and inaccurate and always overestimate the problem. But from these faulty, overinflated computer figures came all the constitutionally questionable actions by government anyway, from ordering businesses closed to quarantining / house arresting American citizens to doing some quick and pitiful and economically painful income redistribution schemes via stimulus funds legislation. Since about 56,000 have died in America due to coronavirus, or have they? Again, the facts are flimsy. Government ordered hospitals weeks ago to stop performing elective surgeries to make way for the projected numbers of coronavirus patients. So they did. And in doing so, they cut off their revenue streams. So Congress passed legislation giving hospitals billions of dollars to treat coronavirus patients. Conflict of interest? Yikes. Yes. The coronavirus counts, already flawed from computer modeling, were then given another flawed treatment. Pennsylvania removed more than 200 deaths from an official coronavirus count as questions mount about reporting process data accurately. The Inquirer reported. The Inquirer? Okay, I don't really care for the Inquirer. That's a tabloid outlet. Anyways, folks, I thought this particular article was somewhat interesting in the fact that it too was referencing the fact that, think about it. It seems like, now I don't necessarily think I would use a political hoax, but because, that might be just to sensationalize the headline to, everyone's into the clickbaity thing these days. But the fact that it's definitely the response, the reaction has been overblown substantially. Like I say, very early on, I can even see how some people might be able to make that excuse. But the fact that we're not seeing an about face or a reversal of that course at this point in time suggests that the media is still willing to go along with that kind of political rhetoric or talking point to keep us all shut in. And why? Well, I don't know. I don't know the reason why. I just know that there's not a whole lot of pushback coming from the established media as of yet. So we'll go show this next one because, like I say, now even media outlets such as The Sun is showing that they're at least a little bit bold to start reporting on this. And like I say, it's going to come around eventually. They're not going to be able to suppress or deny the truth or these kinds of revelations for much longer. This one, like I say, is out of the Toronto Sun. Elder, coronavirus origins went from conspiracy theory to plausible. This was reported April 26, 2020. In February, the Daily Kos, an influential left-wing website, denounced a whole parade of right-wing hand-waving that included not just Republican Representative Tom Cotton claiming that COVID-19 was cooked up in a Chinese biolab. Likewise, The Guardian reported that Dr. Peter Daszak, the president of Equal Health Alliance in the United States, an organization that researches emergent diseases, said conspiracy theories circulating on social media claim the coronavirus was artificially manufactured in a lab conducting bioweapons research. They are crackpot theories that need to be addressed, but in the age of social media, it is just impossible. The Chinese government claimed that the COVID-19 originated at a Wuhan food marketplace where live animals are sold, but Senator Tom Cotton, Republican from Arkansas, thought otherwise. Cotton said, "We don't know where it originated, but we do know that we have to get to the bottom of that. We also know that just a few miles away from the food market is China's only biosafety level 4 super laboratory that researches human infectious diseases. Now, we don't have enough evidence that this disease originated there, but because of China's duplicity and dishonesty from the beginning, we need to at least ask the question to see what the evidence says." Rutgers University chemical biology professor Richard Ebright dismisses the idea that the virus was a product of a laboratory. Ebright said, "There's absolutely nothing in the general genome sequence of this virus that indicates the virus was engineered." But Ebright, according to the Asian Times, also said he could not rule out the possibility that the unfolding pandemic could be the result of a lab incident. Bear in mind, Cotton did not claim the virus was manufactured in a Wuhan lab, let alone that the virus is a product of biological warfare. He speculated that the virus might have accidentally escaped from the lab. The virus might have escaped theory suddenly became less crackpot when the Washington Post recently published an opinion piece called "State Department Cables Warned of Safety Issues at Wuhan Lab Studying Bat Coronaviruses." American experts who visited 2 virology labs in Wuhan in 2018 were shocked at the lack of security and appropriate protocols to prevent a virus from escaping. The piece said, what the U.S. officials learned during their visits concerned them so much that they dispatched 2 diplomatic cables categorized as sensitive, but unclassified, back to Washington. The cables warned about safety and management weaknesses at the WIV, Wuhan Institute of Virology lab, and proposed more attention and help. The first cable also warns that labs work on bat coronaviruses human transmission represented the risk of a new SARS-like pandemic. So once again, folks, just more and more evidence and information coming to light. And let's get to this one here, because as we hear, the YouTube is constantly telling those of us who are content creators on YouTube that we must follow WHO talking points in order for our videos to remain monetized and not to have our channel suppressed. But once again, we've seen already multiple examples where the WHO has been proven to give the wrong information, incorrect information, and have had to reverse course or change up their stance and offer different suggestions, right? So we already know that they failed multiple times. And this here is just apparently an example of yet one more example, or one more time where that happened. So this is out of Reason Magazine, a libertarian publication of the United States. Coronavirus. WHO deletes misleading tweet that spread paranoia about COVID-19 reinfection. So this is that tweet where they said, "Oh no, you might be able to get reinfected even if you've already been infected. Oh no, you don't let your guard down yet because you may very well be reinfected." Anyway, so the threat caused some concern, and we would like to clarify. This was reported by Robbie Sove, April 26, 2020. This weekend, the World Health Organization had to delete a misleading tweet about the coronavirus. Unfortunately, several media outlets had already cited it, spreading unwarranted fear about the likelihood of secondary COVID-19 infections. On Friday, the WHO published a scientific brief on immunity passports, the idea that governments should grant special documents to citizens who test positive for COVID-19 antibodies, allowing them to move about freely. The WHO warned that this is premature since no study has evaluated whether the presence of antibodies to SARS-CoV-2 confers immunity to subsequent infection by this virus in humans. The WHO is correct that scientists have not determined that the degree of immunity enjoyed by COVID-19 survivors, but the tweet version of the brief was missing important context, and it said only this: there's currently no evidence that people who have recovered from COVID-19 and have antibodies are protected from a second infection. That's technically true. There's no evidence of immunity, but that's because COVID-19 is new and the matter hasn't been conclusively studied yet. Scientists have good reason to expect COVID-19 survivors to have some immunity to the virus, though they're unsure how strong it will be or how long it will last. When they say no evidence, they mean something like no definitive proof yet, wrote statistician Nate Silver in response to the WHO tweet. But the average person is going to read it as there's no immunity to coronavirus, which is likely false and not a good summation of the evidence. Indeed, Bloomberg News reported this story with the headline, WHO warns you may catch coronavirus more than once. Here's how that article started. Catching COVID-19 once may not protect you from getting it again, according to the World Health Organization, a finding that could jeopardize efforts to allow people to return to work after recovering from the virus. That's just wrong. There is no finding to speak of here, just an absence of definitive proof that antibodies confer a degree of immunity. Many readers undoubtedly would come away from these statements with a level of anxiety. You can get it again? We're doomed. That isn't merited. The WHO ultimately conceded that its declarations about immunity passports were overly pessimistic and deleted the tweet in question. So anyways, yeah, like I say, think about that. So that's another example where these, I mean, come on, they've already been caught with their pants down a couple times. You'd think they'd be more proactive and making sure before they put out this kind of information that it is, 100% clear and concise and can't be misconstrued or misrepresented by these fake media organizations that constantly just use these clickbaity type headlines to get people to actually read their fucking bullshit or their articles. And I see this all the time. Like I say, it's constantly sensationalized headlines. I try to steer clear from that, which is why I probably don't have many people watching my videos. It'd be, if I put these kind of ridiculous headlines on my streams, I'm sure I'd get more views. But like I say, credibility means more to me than just, the amount of people I can have watching me. But yeah, I mean, come on. And once again, the WHO, and they had to go back and delete their tweet. So really, like, come on, Susan, once again in YouTube, really, why do we have to keep repeating and regurgitating WHO talking points when, once again, they've had to delete their tweet? If I uploaded an article and just referenced that WHO tweet, well, I'd be the one that would have been offering up fake statistics or misrepresenting the facts or information. And that would basically be as a consequence or a direct result of you forcing me as a content creator on YouTube from having to parrot these WHO talking points. So please stop with this bullshit. Take your hands off of the fucking wheel. Don't be such control freaks in there, and allow those of us who are trying to challenge this stuff to properly do so. It's very important and vital that Canadians or people around the entire world have access to alternative sources of news and information or perspectives. Anyway, so I'll close up that one. Oh yeah, check this one out, folks. You folks are going to and like, unbelievable. This, I know there's less and less people here. It's a shame that because I had lots to cover, but I'm sure there must be other people streaming right now. But anyways, I'm going to cover it anyways, folks, because like I say, I'm going to give myself at least 2 hours, and this one, like I say, okay, yeah, because I already covered the should it be mandatory? I covered that one. So yeah, let me get to this one, and then I'll probably tie it up. So check out this one. This one's out of the Global News with a headline. Let me make sure it's up there for you folks. Yep. Like I said, this will be the last article I'll be covering, and then I'll just summarize it, a couple things at the end, and mention once again about the conversation or informal debate I'm going to be having with that gentleman from ThinkSpot this Saturday, May 2nd, 12 p.m. Eastern. Anyways, like I say, headline out of this one, out of the Global News, RCMP seek to boost social media mining to identify threats. This being reported by Jim Bronskill, Canadian Press, April 28th, 2020. So, of course, they show a picture of the burnt-out police cars, that incident in Nova Scotia. Canada's National Police Force wants a digital tool to harvest data from a sweeping variety of online sources, including the darkest reaches of the internet, to provide early information on threats such as disease outbreaks and mass shootings. So Canada's National Police Force, like the Gestapo in Canada, that's basically what you're talking about when you're talking about the RCMP. It's basically Canada's version of the Gestapo, right? And I'm telling you, some very authoritarian petty tyrants and thugs in that organization. And I mean, CBC's had to even report many times in the past that it's not just how they treat members of the public, but even amongst their own ranks. The kind of abuse and harassment and even sexual improprieties that take place was quite rampant. And I don't know if they've actually settled that huge, I don't know, was it a lawsuit? But, there was a big thing going on, a big investigation in terms of what takes place. And then, of course, there's all those articles that I've covered many times in the past and just how much reduced the standards are to even become an RCMP officer in this country anymore. You don't have to be a Canadian citizen. You don't have to worry about taking the physical exam anymore. In terms of it, you don't have to be intelligent. You don't have to be competent. You don't have to be able to carry much in terms of weight. Like I say, I've covered all this stuff. Or sorry, the weight thing has to do with the military, but I've covered all this stuff in past videos. Just type in RCMP and my YouTube channel, and you'll see the videos I've covered. And like I say, it's detrimental how low the bar has been set, or the standards, to become an RCMP officer, which is quite scary when you think about the kind of power that these people have at their disposal. And the fact that they want to now have some kind of a digital tool to harvest the data from a sweeping variety of online sources. So basically, that collect it all, right? Now they want to bring it not just from the darkness into the shadows where CSIS can do it, Canada's spy agency, right? But now the RCMP, they want to have access to those tools as well. The software would allow an RCMP officer to quickly mine data about a person's internet activities, from an emoji posting on Facebook to an illicit firearm purchase on the so-called darknet. Social media and publicly available information will be used to identify threats and address public concerns, says the RCMP contact tender. The application would also help spot brewing public relation issues and enhance strategic, operational, and tactical information for improved decision-making in a crisis or major event setting. Minority Report stuff here, folks. Minority Report, what? Predictive policing, right? Prevent crimes before they ever happen. Like I say, this is massive overreach. And like I say, pretty scary stuff for anyone that cares about their rights, freedoms, and liberties, or their privacy. The tender says the tool should include a dashboard with reports on breaking news, mass casualty events, terrorist attacks, disease outbreaks, and natural disasters. The solicitation notice was issued in mid-April, just days before a gunman went on a deadly rampage in Nova Scotia. Oh, so this was days before this Nova Scotia rampage, right? However, the initiative is rooted in another tragedy, the fatal shootings of the 3 police officers and the woundings of 2 others in Moncton NB 6 years ago, right? So it took 6 years. Whatever excuse they want to use, folks. A report on the events recommend the RCMP procure a real-time social media monitoring tool to help identify risks and improve public communication, noted Corporal Carolyn Duvall, an RCMP spokeswoman. The police must keep pace with the emergence of new technologies to best serve their communities, Duvall said. Social media analysis can support public safety in a variety of ways. So anyways, folks, this will be obviously posted in the link. And actually, I'm going to keep this one opened up, to be honest with you, because I'll probably cover it at the beginning of my next stream or another subsequent stream, because I recognize that most people have already left this stream, and I definitely think this is actually a really important article to cover. So I'll leave that open. Actually, I got a couple other things I was going to cover, but yeah, I'm going to save them for the next stream because, like I say, I try to keep these streams at least under the 2-hour mark, because I know it's hard to even keep people's attention for that long. So like I said, I wish I could do this stuff in quicker time and quicker succession. If I can figure out a way to cover this kind of stuff in just 1 hour, I'd really like to be able to do it. And maybe someday I can get proficient enough that I can, because I know the old views and the likes and the stuff, they just taper off after about an hour. People seem to get bored. But anyways, thanks for those of you who did choose to stick around. I really appreciate that. See you around. Great show. Really informative day. Well, thanks, Sunwares. Like I say, try my best. And like I say, even though some people haven't gotten the chance to watch it yet, it's all going to be here for the record. For all the people that don't want to pay attention to what I got to say now, it'll all be here as a record, for maybe at some point in time when people have a little bit more time in their hands or want to come back and check out my videos or my streams once again. So like I say, everyone have yourself a great day. I'm going to tie this stream up. Oh, let me just mention one more time. I'll just bring this banner up. So yeah, so Don is his name. He's a ThinkSpot contributor. We Create the Future is his username over there on ThinkSpot. And we're going to be having a conversation regarding, he's obviously an advocate for basic income. I'm definitely not. I'm against all forced wealth and income redistribution, as you know. And we're going to have like an informal debate or conversation, which I'm hoping and I expect it will be respectful and polite and giving each other all kinds of time to put forth our own position or stance on this particular topic. But like I say, I'm very interested to hear what this Don has to say, because I don't know how you can make the case for defending this kind of stuff, but we're going to see what he's got on offer. And like I say, you're more than welcome to come join me. It'll be a live stream. Like I say, that'll be May 2nd at 12 p.m. Eastern. And if you have time on Saturday at May the 2nd and at 12 Eastern, come by, check this stream out, because like I say, it should prove to be pretty interesting at the very least, right? So other than that, that's pretty much it. Like I say, you folks have yourself a great day, and we'll see you in the next stream. This is the Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.